Welcome again to Zombie Tactics. Once again into the breach today with another wacky episode of Stupid Gun Laws, where I talk about, well, what do you expect? Stupid gun laws. You know, the kind that don't enhance public safety. They don't keep guns out of the hands of criminals. They don't do anything to help criminals get arrested. They don't keep criminals from being criminals. Heck, they don't even help you get a good parking place at the mall. What do? They just hassle ordinary citizens who are going about their completely legal business of owning firearms and using them in lawful ways. So let's get right into it. Well, in California, we've got this thing called the Roster of Handguns Certified for Sale. It's on a website put up by the California Office of the Attorney General, and you probably can't see it too well here on the laptop, so I'm going to have to zoom in on some images or throw in some pictures or something like that. And if you go to the site, you'll see here that it kind of summarizes the law, and the law is this. Effective January 1st, 2001, no handgun may be manufactured within California, imported into California for sale, lent, given, kept for sale, or offered exposed for sale, unless that handgun model has passed firing, safety, and drop tests and is certified for sale in California by the Department of Justice. That's the California Department of Justice, by the way. Private party transfers, curio relic handguns, certain single-action revolvers, and pawn consignment returns are exempt from this requirement. Now on the site here, you've also got this drop-down list, and the way that works is you can look up any brand of handgun and figure what's certified for sale here in California. I'm going to go over a number of guns here that are certified presently for sale in California to show you how silly and ridiculous this list really is. For that, we're going to go to the tabletop and my cast of handgun characters. Well, on the table here is our cast of characters today to demonstrate the stupidity of this law, aided by the lovely front side edition a bird knife, logo knife. You got to do this somehow to make it entertaining. Here on the right hand side, we've got the Ruger SR9, one of my favorite handguns, a great challenger to the Glock pistols in many ways. Just a wonderful gun all the way around. Of course, no handgun collection is complete without a Glock. Here's the Glock 22. Got a Springfield XD40 here on the table as well. And special guest star making an appearance, the Ruger LCP. All of these will figure quite pointedly in our discussion today of the stupidity of the California Certified Handgun Roster and its silliness. Out of the 4 handguns that I showed as my cast of characters, the Ruger SR9 occupies a special place, and that is because it is the only one of those guns that meets all of the standards that a handgun is supposed to have for sale in California. Those standards include things like, well, let's demonstrate this the right way. And I'm going to actually load the gun. It has a loaded chamber indicator that shows you that when this little flag is up, that indeed there is a round in the gun. It has a magazine disconnect feature so that even when the gun is loaded, and the gun is loaded now, you can pull the trigger, but it will not fire the round. And I'm going to go ahead and unload that now. I'm going to do it the stupid way for the camera. You can see that round come out of there. And yes, I had a loaded gun pointed at the refrigerator, but that prevents the trigger from firing the gun, from hitting the primer when the gun is fired. And that's a safety feature. The gun is unloaded at this point in time. If there's not a magazine in there, the gun will not fire. It has a manual safety here, and those are all features that you're supposed to have. The secondary safety, the magazine disconnect or interlock that prevents the gun from being fired if there's not actually a magazine in the gun, and the loaded chamber indicator. Those are all things that you're supposed to have for any new gun certified in California for sale. So this is great. The Rugers are on the California roster without any hitches. Now, in addition to that, they had to pass something called a drop test, where California will take this pistol, load it, cock it, and throw it on the ground in some particular fashion over and over a certain number of times, and determine that the gun will not fire under those circumstances. And sure enough, it passed that test as well. We're going to come back to a discussion of that drop test in just a moment, because there's an important thing having to do with the Ruger that has to do with that drop test. But the Ruger is certified cool for sale in California. The Glock series of pistols do not meet those standards. They don't have a magazine interlock, so this gun will fire when it's cocked, even if there's no magazine in the gun. That's a feature some people like. That's a feature some people don't like. It doesn't have a real loaded chamber indicator, although some people will claim that the extractor here kind of pokes out a little bit, and you can feel that, and that indicates that there's a round in the chamber at the time. And there's no external safety on the gun as well, so it doesn't meet California standards either. Let's set that down on the table for a second. And then you've got the Springfield XD. Now, like the Glock, it does not have the magazine disconnect or the magazine interlock feature. So whether or not this gun is loaded and cocked, if there's no magazine in the gun will still fire. If there was a actual cartridge in the gun at this point in time, even though there's no magazine in there, this gun would have fired, as would have the Glock, and I would have killed the refrigerator. In addition to that, the Springfield has this interesting feature here. It's an external safety. It's a grip safety. The gun will not fire unless that is depressed by your hand. But that doesn't meet California's standard for an external safety. It does have a loaded indicator. This little thing will flip right up here. You can see that maybe a little bit. I'll show that a little bit better when there's a loaded round in the chamber. Maybe I can't get to it. Okay, that little guy flips up there, and you can supposedly tell that there's a loaded round in the chamber. And it has a little gadget here so that this guy pokes out the back, this little pin pokes out the back, so that you can tell that the gun is cocked too. So you will be able to tell whether the gun's in a firing condition or not. But those things don't meet California's standards for safety, for a safe handgun. That grip safety doesn't meet it. Doesn't meet the standards. This round in the chamber indicator does not. It's not obvious enough for California's standards. And you know, the weapon is cocked indicator. They don't care one way or the other. So these shouldn't be certified for sale in California, right? Because they don't meet the tests. But now, wait a minute, Zombie Tactics. I've seen Springfield XDs in California. I've seen Glock pistols for sale in California. What gives? If they don't meet the test, if they don't meet the standards, how can I buy one of these in California? Well, that's a good question, and it goes to one of the reasons why this law is stupid. This gun does not meet the standards. This gun does not meet the standards, the Glock. But they both got grandfathered in because they were pistols that were in production before the time the law went into effect. So, in other words, even though California sort of officially considers these not meeting their standards, you're perfectly able to buy what California, by the way they put the law together, has essentially said is not a safe pistol. Now, how does that make any sense? What gets sillier is the following. This pistol, if you want to buy a left-handed version of it, you can't. Why? Because the left-handed version isn't certified for sale in California. Matter of fact, there's different colors of this pistol, and different colors of this pistol, I think, where the only difference is the color, but because the color is different, that isn't certified for sale in California because it came out after the time that the law came into effect. Now, is that the silliest thing in the world? You can buy that gun, you can buy that gun, but you can't buy the left-handed version, and you can't buy one that's a different color. No difference in the way the gun operates, it just happened to be something that was manufactured after the time the law went into effect. So, if these standards are so important, why can you still buy these guns? And if these supposedly aren't safe guns, why aren't there hundreds and hundreds of accidents that we're hearing about all over California and all over the country that you don't have with the Ruger SR9, but somehow you do have with the Glock? That just doesn't happen, and it shows you how stupid this law is. It gets sillier than that, though. Bringing in my little friend here, the Ruger LCP. Now, the way the law is written, you can't buy this gun new from a dealer in California because it doesn't meet, well, it doesn't meet California standards at all. The magazine interlock feature is not present. There isn't really a loaded round indicator. There isn't any kind of a manual safety on this pistol. So even though it's one of the most popular pistols made, popular all across the country, really popular with law enforcement who think of it as a high-quality backup pistol, hardly the cheap pistol that's going to blow up in your face that some people that are in favor of this handgun roster nonsense would like you to believe it is. It's just a plenty wonderful little handgun. But you can't buy one new from a dealer in California. So what's this doing in my hand? Well, the only thing that the law covers is whether or not you can sell a new one directly from the factory or a used one that's actually owned by the store. Private party transfers are not included in that law. You can get one of these from a private party as long as they have it legally. This one happened to come from somebody who bought the pistol prior to coming into California, imported this into California as a private importer, which you can do as a private citizen. You can bring your handguns with you, whether or not they're on California's list or not. All these unsafe handguns that are going to blow up and kill people. And then he decided he didn't want it. He'd never actually fired the pistol. So here in my hand, I have, for all intents and purposes, a brand new Ruger LCP bought from a private party. So it's not like I couldn't get this in California anyway. The only difference is, because this isn't available through normal channels, I've got to pay more for this, because there's something of a, it's not fair to call it a black market because it's legal, but there's like what you might call a gray market for pistols like the LCP that are not ordinarily available through standard means in stores. Now, if this guy didn't want to sell this pistol to me privately, he could put it up for consignment at a gun store, and the gun store could sell it on consignment, again, usually at a highly inflated price. So it's not like they're keeping you from getting this gun, they're just making sure you're going to have to pay a lot more for it. So you can see the silliness of how this law just doesn't work. It doesn't do anything except hassle ordinary citizens who want to buy quality merchandise at market prices. I said I'd get back to the SR9, and here's the reason why I want to get back to the SR9. Part of California's protocol for approving a pistol for sale in California is they do something called a drop test. They essentially load the weapon and they drop it from some particular height under semi-scientific conditions and see if it'll fire on its own. Well, this weapon, the first version of this weapon, passed that test with flying colors. But after the pistol went to market, Ruger, in their own testing, determined it was not safe enough. Now, this is not the government determining it's not safe. The government said it was perfectly fine. But Ruger, in their own testing, said, we don't care what California says. We're going to do a recall on this gun, and we're going to fix a condition that we found that it'll probably never ever happen, but we're really concerned about the safety of our customers, so we're going to recall this pistol and improve it. You'd think at that point in time that California would say, oh, that's great, just improve it, we'll put it back on the roster. Oh, no, no, no. They had to take the gun off the market, and they had to resubmit the new design for California for another round of expensive testing. Ruger didn't have to do that, but they did it anyway, and it just shows you that this company cares more about its customers than the government of the state of California does. California's test didn't catch that problem. Ruger did, and it's a testament to the quality of this brand. Okay, end of Ruger ad. So where does that put us? This puts us with a law on the books in California that keeps people from buying quality firearms at market prices. It doesn't keep guns out of the hands of criminals. It doesn't keep any guns out of the hands of criminals. It doesn't reduce gun accidents, because even the guns that they say are supposedly unsafe and not fit for sale in California are able to be bought in California by other means. So there's a loophole or a way around, or the pistol got, grandfathered in under the law, snuck under the wire somehow, or whatever. In other words, it doesn't do anything except hassle you, the legitimate, legal owner of firearms. The average citizen who just wants to get a firearm for target practice or for self-protection or something like that. It's just a giant hassle, just a giant waste of your tax dollars in California. Another stupid gun law. That's Zombie Tactics for today. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.